Well, hey everybody, my name is Lonny Hogan. If you're watching this video right now, chances are you saw a short video that I introduced you to this interview that I'd be doing with top income earner Paul Hutchings. And we're just going to have a little quick conversation, talk about his story and the vision and mission behind the Home Business Academy and the entire Freedom Crusader Alliance. So I want to say hi, Paul.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Thanks for having me, Lonny. I'm really excited about this interview.
Yeah, and I'm excited to be able to do this. I mean, first, I think what I want to start with is just tell us your story. I don't know how many people watching this will have heard it. I know I've heard it a few times, but it's just such an inspiring story. Can you just tell us, kind of what got you started in home business and, how it all came to where you are now with the Freedom Crusader Alliance and the Home Business Academy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I, just like everyone else or many other people, was taught a message growing up, which was, if you want to be successful in life, you got to go to school, get good grades, and then get a good job. And so obviously wanting to find happiness and success, that's what I did. I studied hard in school. I went to college. I got a bachelor's degree, and I was like, okay, now I'm going to take on the world and everything's going to be happily ever after in my story. And what happened was I came back to Idaho where I live. So I went down to college in Phoenix, Arizona, came back to Idaho where I live and started looking for a job. And I had a hard time finding a job. And finally what happened was I found a job working in a call center, making $11.09 an hour. So I was a little bit confused. I was like, man, I just went in debt, spent all this money to go to college to get a degree. And now, I'm working in a call center. Nonetheless, I was like, okay, I'm going to make the best of the situation. So I showed up to work. I worked hard. I started advancing a little bit. But all along that path, I experienced some pain points. I experienced company politics. I experienced having to ask for permission to go to the bathroom and go on vacation. In fact, one story, I'll share with you two quick stories. Okay. The first story from my corporate life was that started to cause me to question the path that I was on. That was my first year wedding anniversary. My wife and I had just gotten married, and here I am working in the company, trying to do a good job and please the boss and advance and stuff. So it was my first year wedding anniversary, and the company wanted me to go down to Phoenix to do a meeting. And the boss is like, Paul, can you go down and do this meeting? And I said, well, probably. I said, it's my first year wedding anniversary. Is it okay with you if I check with my wife first? And he said, yeah, I guess so. Go ahead. And so I talked to my wife, Corinne. I'm like, honey, I know it's our first year wedding anniversary. Company wants me to go down to do this this meeting. And Corinne, my wife, was like, well, this is your job and it's important. You better go, right? So I remember, Lonny, going down to Phoenix, working all day on my wedding anniversary, getting done with the meetings that day, going to a steakhouse, ordering some food, looking at my cell phone there, and I picked up my cell phone and I called my wife and I said, honey, happy anniversary. I wish I was there. And it was just like a really lonely experience, right? But I'm doing what the company wants me to do. Well, about 6 months later, I'm in this review where my boss is like, Paul, you're doing good here, 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 and here, but there's one thing we're worried about. And I was like, what's that, boss? And he said, we're worried about your loyalty to the company. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, about 6 months ago, we wanted you to go down and do this meeting. And when we asked you to go, you hesitated. Like, rather than saying, yeah, I'll go do it, he said, you hesitated, and they questioned my loyalty. And I remember walking out of that review, and I was just like, there's something wrong with this situation. There's something wrong about being in a spot where your loyalty to the company is being questioned because you wanted to talk to your wife about missing your first year wedding anniversary, And so that was part of the discontent that I started to feel with my job. And then one other quick story, and this is kind of a funny story, but it's also illustrative of what a lot of people experience in jobs. And by the way, I love jobs. I think jobs are valuable. I think all work has value. But if you're in a job that you don't like, if you're in a position where you're feeling unfulfilled, if you're in a spot where you dread doing the things that you're supposed to do that day, then we are, Lonny and I, we're proponents of figuring out a way to get out of that and get into a spot where you're fulfilled and you feel like you're fulfilling your purpose in life, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit more about what our whole movement's about. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But so I had this friend, and he was from Africa, Burundi, Africa. His parents are diplomats. His name is Arnold. And his parents sent him and his siblings over to America, land of opportunity, right, to have a better life. And so Arnold and I were working in these cubicles. He's in the cubicle next to me, and we start to develop a relationship. And we're like, how are we going to advance, in the corporate world? How are we going to do this, Arnold? Well, Arnold, being the student that he was and the secret that he was, he's like, hey, I'm going to set an appointment with my boss, and I'm going to find out, like, what does it take to get promoted? And so he sets this meeting up with his boss. His boss's name was Doug. And I remember the day, his cubicle is right behind mine. And I remember the day, like, he stands up and he walks around, and I'm looking at him, and he goes in the interview in the office, in Doug's office, and there's some windows so I can kind of see in there, and Arnold sits down and Doug sits down. And they have this meeting, right? And I'm like just kind of peeking over, like, okay, what are the secrets going to be? Like, what do we got to do to advance? And a few minutes go by, and then Arnold comes around the corner, and I look up over my cubicle, and his eyes are like, and his jaws just drop. He's just like, and I'm like, dude, what happened? I was like, what happened? What did he say? And he's like, I'm confused. And he's like, you're not going to believe this. He said, he sat me down. He said, Arnold, you really want to know the secrets to advancing in this company? And Arnold was like, yeah, that's why I set up the meeting. And he said, all right, here's what you need to do. He says, step number 1, you need to get yourself a set of spandex racing shorts. Step number 2, you need to get yourself a racing bike. And step number 3, you need to get yourself a Lance Armstrong book. And Arnold's from Africa, right here in America, land of opportunity, trying to figure out how to advance. And he's like, what the heck are you talking about, right? And then his boss says, stand up, Arnold. So they stand up, and he goes, do you see that office way over there at the end of the floor? That office is Jeff's office. Jeff is the vice president of sales. Arnold, Jeff loves Lance Armstrong, spandex shorts, and racing. And if you want to advance in this environment, that's what you need to do. And so I remember Arnold telling me that, and we were just like, that is not right. Like, here we were working hard, getting results, showing up early, leaving late, and none of that was being rewarded, right? And so all of that discontent started to cause me to look at other ways that I can earn income for my family, and that got me into network marketing. And I know I've gone on here, so I'll just be real brief about my network marketing story. But I got in network marketing, fell flat on my face, failed for 5 years straight. Finally, in 2009, I was like, this isn't working. I got to figure out a way to win. And my wife said, I talked to my wife, and I said, maybe we're not winning because we still got this job, and we had some savings at that time. And I said, honey, maybe we should just go for it. So she said, okay, we got some savings, let's do it. So I quit my job. I was living in a 1984 single-wide trailer house, and I said, I'm going to go for it, network marketing. So I quit my job, and then what happened is over the next 6 months, so I was doing network marketing part-time, and we'd built up about $1,000 a month in income doing local stuff. So like friends, family, meetings. So I was making $1,000 a month. I quit my job. That $1,000 a month income dwindled down to like $300 a month. So my income went down. I'm living in a trailer. I'm married. I had 3 kids at the time. My third son was born in December of 2009. And right around that time, he was diagnosed with a head condition called craniosynostosis, which basically means the bones in his head were fused together. And there's the whole story. My wife comes home one day from the 3-week checkup. She's crying, and I'm like, "What's going on?" $50,000 surgery down at Primary Children's Hospital, and here I am in a trailer making $300 a month, watching our savings go down, every month. And all of that to say I got to a point where I needed to find some answers. And so one night I was in the back room of this trailer house putting my 2 oldest kids to bed, read them their bedtime stories, watched them drift off to sleep. And I started to cry, Lonny. And, to viewers that I literally started to cry because for 5 years I was failing, just literally failing. Despite the fact that I was doing everything that I thought I could do, nothing seemed to be working. And I knelt down and I offered a prayer. I was like, God, if you're there, please help me find a way out of my situation. And from that prayer, 2 things came to me. And then I'm almost done with the story. Sorry, it's been so long. But two things came to me. One was I was inspired to pick up a book called Think and Grow Rich and begin a very serious study of it. I'd read the book before, but for some reason I was like, there's some things in this book that maybe you're not doing. So I started to study that book intently, folding down the corners of the pages, highlighting the passages where I was given action steps. I did what the book told me to do. And so that was one thing that came. And then the other thing that came to me was internet marketing. I ran across an ad one day while I was trying to figure out this home business stuff. And this ad told me all about lead generation and tapping into hungry target markets and connecting with people all over the world. And so with those two things, an understanding that I needed to work on my mindset and develop more faith and belief in my goal, and understand that there were laws and principles underlying success. And if I could just put myself in harmony with those laws and principles, that I too could become successful. So there's like that mindset part of the formula. We've got a formula that we repeat often, mindset plus skill set times performance equals results. So I started to develop faith in myself. And this was a big key because all up until that point, all of those first few years of struggle and failure, I remember what my mindset was like, Lonny, and my mindset was, I hope this works. Maybe this is going to be the one. Like, maybe, please, I hope it works out. And when I had a big shift inside through Think and Grow Rich, I went from hoping that it was going to work to knowing that it was going to work. I remember there was no question in my mind that the money that I wanted was out there in the marketplace. In fact, I remember my first visualization. It was $3,000 a month because that's about what I was making at my job. And I was like, man, $3,000 a month, that'll be it. I'll be set. So every night, per the instructions in Think and Grow Rich, I'm visualizing, I'm affirming, I'm stating the vision and the purpose according to, the instructions in that book. And over a period of time, I went from a state of hoping, wishing, believing, hoping that it might work, to a state of, I know this money is there. I know it's on its way to me. All I have to do is perform the service necessary to bring that money into my bank account, because it's already there. It's out there in other people's bank accounts. And so I just had this big time shift where I believed. And Jim Rohn, he says, you can't say that faith does not exist because you can't see it. He says that's like saying radiation doesn't exist because you can't see radiation. We know radiation exists because it has an effect, and so does faith. And so that was a big one. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the internet marketing and the skills, I went on to use both of those. And within about 6 months, I finally had that $3,000 a month to almost the penny. I had $1,500 from my network marketing company, and $1,500. It was actually $1,500 from a lead generation system, education platform that I was using, and then another $1,500 from my network marketing company. Except it was $1,497 because the network marketing company had a $3 check processing fee, right? And so I was like, "Wow, this stuff is amazing!" Like within $3, the amount that I visualized in my mind came into my life, and then I just stayed on that path and went on to hit my first $7,000 a month and $10,000 a month, and I've had months as high as $20,000 a month, and now here we are in 2017, and I'm on this 7-acre property in Idaho, in the country. Literally our dream location. My wife and I, we wanted a place just like this for so long. We wanted it to be debt free, which it now is. We paid off the mortgage. We've got some investments. So we've got passive income outside of the home business profession, and my life, I'm just so grateful for where I'm at right now, and that's the story that got me here. So thanks for letting me share, Lonny. I really appreciate that, and thanks for your patience. Whoever's watching this, hopefully got a tip or something here or there in that story.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know that I could hear your story too many times, because every single time you tell it, there's another additional little detail that that I didn't pick up on before, or that I didn't know about, that helps it make even more sense. And and it's just such a great story to hear. Now, and just to be clear, we're having this conversation. It's now October 2017. Mm-hmm. This is all stuff you've accomplished since 2009. Is that right? Was that about the time when you were really at that low point?
Yeah, it was December, at the end of 2009, when I was in that very low point.
Okay.
And then it was the year of 2010 when I had that first breakthrough and hit that first $3,000 a month. And that was kind of the launching point, 2010.
Got it. And I think one of the things I really love about your story too is that I relate to it in a lot of ways. I actually once too lived in a single wide trailer home. Okay.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
My parents, and it was for about 6 months, but I know what it's like to live in that little trailer home and the 2 bedrooms at both ends. And, and so, every time you tell that story, it brings me back. I think ours was a 1979 version. This was early 1990s when I was living in it. And, so I can relate to that. All your stories about the frustrations with the job. I actually had the cubicle job for a little while too. And, it always reminds me of that movie Office Space. Everybody's in their little cubicles and you got to go see the guy in the big glass office. And I remember I had that job. I moved 300 miles to take that job. I was hired.
Oh, wow.
I moved 300 miles from the Southern Illinois area to Chicago area, took this job, and they hired me. And they had me wait a few weeks before training started. And then they trained me, and that took about 2 months. And then they put me with this team, but they weren't ready for me to start working yet. And then I was just kind of waiting. And then I walked in one day, and there were boxes after just all these boxes piled up in the corner. And I thought, uh-oh, I know what this is. And I got laid off along with about 200 other people that day.
Oh, wow.
So I basically moved 300 miles, took this job, never did a thing for like 6 months. They just trained me and then never actually even gave me my job to start doing before the company was, failing. And this was back in like 2001 and, the economy had just crashed and stuff. And so, it was a bunch of people getting laid off all at the same time. But I just thought, man, it's just like the sacrifices that I made, the commitment that I made, and this is what I had to show for it. And that's when entrepreneurship and different ways of making a living without having to depend on an employer really became a priority for me. So we've got that kind of relatedness too, as I'm sure many people watching this will relate to that as well. Yeah. So let me ask you this: Freedom Crusader Alliance. I hear you use that lingo a lot. How did that come to be? Like, what exactly is that?
So, okay. So the term crusader comes from one of my early mentors that I never knew personally, but I read about in books. He's a guy by the name of Art Williams. He formed a company called A.L. Williams that back in the 80s did some amazing things. They actually built a company that had the most six-figure earners and millionaires than any other company up to that point in American history. And Art Williams has got some great books. All You Can Do Is All You Can Do, Pushing Up People. And I've just, in my early days in network marketing, when I wasn't having any success, I would read, trying to figure out, like, how do I become the man that's going to attract the success that I want? And one of the things that Art Williams used to say was, he said, you've got to have a crusade. Like, you've got to have, people, they want to be aligned with something where they feel like, and I was just thinking about this morning, actually. Like, it's funny you asked this question because I was thinking about, how I call myself a freedom crusader and how many of us in our movement call ourselves a freedom crusader. And it's like the job, at least in my experience, was like, it was dreary. It was drab. There was no freedom. I was in a box. I had to do ABC with no flexibility as to how I did ABC. And it's like, that's like over here. And then over here to the other side, it's like, what do we all really want? It's like, we want to be superheroes. Like, we want to live great lives. We want to make an impact. We want to make a difference. There's a quote from, I think her name is Marsha Norman, where she said something to the effect of, many people are not looking for a job. They're looking for a calling. Like, they're looking for something like a mission, right? And so that insight from Art Williams about having a crusade, over the years, I've asked myself, what can I be a crusader for? Like, what is one thing? One of my friends, Super Duper Stan, great networker, he said, I'd rather die with the integrity of having fought for my dreams than live with the disgrace of looking in the mirror at a quitter. And it's like, what is that one thing that I could stand and go for and champion all the days of my life. Like, what is that one thing? And for me, something that really resonates deeply with me is freedom, right? Freedom, this idea of financial freedom, this idea that was planted in my mind by Robert Kiyosaki, in his books, where you build a stream of pipeline income that replaces, that pays your expenses. And once that pipeline is built, you are now financially free to ask yourself, what do I really want to do with my life? What causes do I really want to align with? Like, now that I don't have to have the best of my heart and soul and energy attached to this idea of making a dollar, what do I really want to do with my life? And gosh, isn't that idea inspiring? Because like so many of us guys, like we're born into this world, and it's like, unless we were born into rich families, we have no choice but to make a living. Like, we're in this economic system where we have to make money to give our families, lives and to provide. So it's like we're born into this. So like we have to deal with it. And this idea of just freeing ourselves, it's almost like a little bit of a slave type system. I mean, I don't want to be negative because I'm so grateful for everything that we've got, and I think there are blessings all around. But mandatory work, I mean, isn't that kind of definition of slavery? It's like you have to work, so you're kind of enslaved. And so this idea of financial freedom is like, hey, there's a way out of that, right? And so that's a little bit of the essence of like what it means to be a Freedom Crusader. Freedom Crusader is like, hey, I see this concept of freedom. And even though where I'm at right now, like when I first got started, it was totally a hope. And I was like, is there any way I can do it? I don't know. Maybe. Gosh, wouldn't that be nice? I hope that could be. So it's like the Freedom Crusader sees that goal off into the future. And then they say, you know what? I'm going to go for it. And then they start, taking actions and moving towards it. And then they have setbacks and trials and challenges, but then they learn how to be persistent. And then all through this whole story of going for freedom, they're becoming a better person because they're strengthening what's on the inside, and they're learning about principles of success, and they're learning about how to add value and make a difference. And so in this journey, so we've got the worthy goal of freedom, and then to get there, we have to become, just so much better in the process. So like that's a little bit of what I see when I think about Freedom Crusader, and it's like being a superhero, It's like we got a cape and we're doing something great in the world. So anyway, I don't know if I rambled too much, but those are my ramblings on Freedom Crusading.
You start sharing about this, and it just gets things spinning in my mind. Like I always remembered, Jim Rohn again. He had once said one of the more profound things he's ever said that really had an impact on me was become a millionaire for what you will become of it, or make $1 million, not to have the $1 million, but because of what it will cause you to become in order to earn that kind of living, and just that. And another guy that I followed and I've always had a huge respect for, a guy named Tim Ferriss. He wrote a book called the 4-Hour Work Week. He talks a lot about what you just shared too, about having that crusade and having that passion. And a couple of things that you said that reminded me of what was in his book. He talked about you really don't need to have as much money as most people think you need to have in order to have freedom.
Yep.
You can, a lot of times it's just like figure out what your monthly expenses are, which might be only $2,000 a month or somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. And then just figure out a way to create a residual income at that level. Boom. Now you have freedom. You may not be rich, but you have freedom. And now you have time freedom, and you have the ability and the leverage to start pursuing the passions. And then it'll just the success should just perpetuate upon that.
Can I speak to that just a little bit? Because that's such a great point. And that's also something that I think is a little bit different about our movement is that, Andrew Carnegie told Napoleon Hill one time, he said, I don't believe that everyone should set the goal to become a millionaire because for some people it would cost too much. That's what Andrew Carnegie said. There's this message in society from marketers and companies that we have to live in the biggest houses on the block, that we have to drive the nicest cars, that we have to wear the nicest clothes, that we have to outshine our neighbors. And all of those are messages that come from marketers that are trying to sell us stuff, right? And so this idea that you just touched on and that you mentioned Timothy Ferriss talks about, to have financial freedom, that's totally different from like driving a Lamborghini or living in a, 20,000 square foot mansion on the coast of, the ocean. Not to say those things are bad. And hey, if that's what you really want, then go for it, right? And we think people should be supported in their dreams, but we also believe that financial freedom is different from that. In fact, a great book, Millionaire Next Door, Thomas Stanley and William Danko, they talk about how they wanted to research all these millionaires, and so they went to like some of the nicest neighborhoods, and he said we made one of the most shocking discoveries, and that was the people who lived in the biggest houses actually had the lowest net worth, right? And so it's like right. What we are taught is antithesis. It's like opposite to what it means to really be free. And so a Freedom Crusader asks questions, and they say, do I really need $20,000 a month to be financially free? Or can I maybe do some things differently? There's this whole movement out there called minimalism. There's a great book called The More of Less, which is like, stuff does not make us happy. Like, we need some stuff to live, but we don't have to have all the stuff that society says that we have to have. And when we make those, when we come to those conclusions, just like you pointed out so beautifully, financial freedom, it becomes something that is really within everyone's reach, I think, right? When we apply these other principles. So, great, really great thoughts, Lonny.
Okay, great. Now, I want to make sure I get to this because you and Mike created together a vehicle for creating success. And I remember I discovered it, like earlier in the year in the springtime, vetted it out, and really wanted to make sure it was legit and everything before I got involved in it. And the more and more I looked at it, the more and more impressed I was. Can you tell me a little bit about how you and Mike came together and created the Home Business Academy?
Yeah. So, and thank you for asking that question. And, whoever's watching, as Lonny mentioned, we do have a company that myself and my partner founded, along with people like Lonny and other members of the Academy. It's like a community creation, I like to say. And so if you're looking for some education and or a way to build some passive income, then like Lonny said, I really think the Home Business Academy is something to take a look at. So to answer your question, on my journey of finding financial freedom and continuing to build financial freedom in my life, I've noticed that I've had a lot of challenges, just like anyone will have who really decides to go for it. Like, challenges are par for the course, right? Like they're just a part of the journey. And part of the journey is learning how to overcome challenges. That's part of what makes us better people. But I noticed that there were some challenges that I didn't really think needed to be there. Like, for example, that first $3,000 a month that I obtained, $1,500 was from a network marketing company. Well, I remember one time I was driving to Salt Lake City listening to a conference call, and the company owner said, hey, that triple pay we promised you guys for achieving that certain rank? And I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm at $1,500 a month finally. Woo! And he's like, yeah, we're not going to be able to do that, so we're going to take that away, and hope to see you guys at the next event. And he hung up the phone, and in one phone call, my income went from $1,500 a month down to $300 a month in that company. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but for a guy living in a trailer house trying to support his family, that's a lot, right? And so I had that one experience where the company owner, just did something that hurt my family that I didn't think needed to be done. It was out of integrity, I thought. And continuing my home business journey, there are time and time again experiences where this kind of thing happened. I won't go into all of them, but I'll just tell you that there's so many. Like, my first six-figure income, right? Finally making $10,000 a month. I'm like, I finally made it. Company owner says, hey, I know we're selling a health product, but now we're going to sell a fuel additive, and we're going to start a sister company. And it just put the brakes on my income. My income started to backslide. My volume and my organization started to backslide. So experiences like this over time have led me to come to the conclusion that and this is something that most people never look at because we don't know how to look for it. But one of the most important things you can do when you're deciding to partner up with any type of an income opportunity or vehicle is to look at the heart of the people who are behind the product and the business. And when I say heart, what I mean is, what are their values? What are their beliefs? You know, are they going to do things that are principle based and out of integrity and out of doing what's right for everyone that they're serving? Or are they going to make decisions based on, how much profit can I suck out of these people for myself? Or, when the going gets tough, am I going to quit? Or, all these other things. And so Mike and I, you mentioned my partner, Mike, we actually built some pretty big teams in network marketing, and we've worked together for a number of years. And we've had this vision, to help 300 families a year through principle-centered leadership. And then together we experienced some of these things that I've mentioned. And so finally it came to the point where we said, okay, if we're serious about our vision, we cannot continue to put our financial freedom and our team's financial freedoms at the subjection of, these company owners that time and time again tend to, do these things that we feel are out of integrity. Sure. And so we said, hey, what if we created something that was based on quality? So we knew we had a quality product and we were in control of that. Well, because we want to, it's like, what do you want to sell, right? And that's the question we ask. Well, we want to sell something that changes lives. We want to sell something that over delivers. We want to sell something that we're proud to be a part of. We want to sell something that makes people become better people in all aspects of their life. We want to sell something that contributes to freedom. We want to sell something that, when we sell it, it does good things in the world. So we started to come up with all these answers to these questions, and we're like, we're going to have to create something, because it's not there. The thing that we want, it's not there. And so that's the genesis of the Home Business Academy.
I think that's one of the things that attracted me to you guys and to what you were doing so much too, because I didn't want to sell junk. I didn't want to sell education products that nobody ever looked at. Or if you did look at them, the first thing you'd notice is that they're, 4 years old or something. I didn't want to sell, anything that had hyperbole and exaggeration, even if it was a good product. You call it a good product if it's good, but don't make it sound like it's going to just change everybody's life if you just take this one product, because we know that isn't true. And there's one thing that really, really became clear to me after watching what you and Mike were doing and watching some of the webinars that you guys had put on, is that that the quality aspect was really, really a critical factor, and that was very attractive to me, at least. And then another thing that I really liked was the principle of simplicity. You guys talk about keep it simple. Can you share a little bit about why that was such a high priority for the company?
Yeah. Part of the reason, sometimes we find the things that we value by experiencing the opposite, right? And so we had just come out of an experience where the company that we were representing had complicated things to a ridiculous degree. And so we were bringing people to the company that we wanted to serve. We wanted to help obtain financial freedom. Mm-hmm. They'd come and they would get lost in this maze of logins and strategies, and it was just everywhere. And so we realized that confusion is not the way to help people win their freedom. And so we became champions for simplicity. And the other thing is, we look back over our own journeys, right? And one of the things that we realized is that we learn things in stages. The Bible, there's a great quote from the Bible that says something to the effect of milk before meat. Well, a lot of online systems, what they do is they say, hey, the internet's the solution for everything, so let's teach you the most complicated things you can do, and we're going to solve your problems. Right. And then they discount. So I have a background in network marketing and internet marketing. Mm-hmm. So in network marketing, there are things that I love, and there are things that I don't love so much. And in internet marketing, there are things that I love, and there are things that I don't love so much. But there's this phrase called, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because there are some things in network marketing that I don't love doesn't mean we should throw all of network marketing out the window, right? Because there are things in network marketing that are really, really valid and helpful, You love people, coach people, build relationships with people. If you've got something that you're proud of and that you love, share it with the people that you think might get value from it. Like, do we want, should you go pound and try to hard sell all your friends and family? No, but if you've got something that you think will benefit them, feel free to share it. There's nothing wrong with that. So those are some of the things that we love about network marketing. Some of the things that we are not totally in love with about network marketing is, small commissions, and that's just part of the model. It's not to say it's a bad thing, but in network marketing, the model is you get little commissions from large groups of people, and you build, big leverage. Right. And there's some pros there and there are some cons. Well, the con is if someone's just getting started to build an income from home, they might have to build a downline of 50, 500, 1,000 customers to make any real substantial impact on their bottom line. And again, it's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. And so with online marketing and affiliate marketing, we can help people, we can give people an affiliate product like the Home Business Academy or, and maybe another affiliate product. And when they make one sale, they can make $100 a month residual income. So that takes it from having to build a team of 50 or 100 or 1,000 to 30 sales and you're making $3,000 a month, or 50 sales and you're making $5,000 a month, right? And so these are some of the advantages of online marketing. Now, some of the downsides in online marketing are, you got all these people out there that say autopilot everything, never talk to anyone, never build relationships. I mean, I've been in companies where, the motto was put down the phone and pick up the paycheck, which basically said, hey, Lonny, if you're on my team, dude, you better never call me. And if you call me, I'm going to say, hey, dude, go to the system. You go to the system, man. Go learn it yourself. And that's not good for stickiness. It's not good for retention. It's not good for relationship. It's not good for long-term sustainability, right? And so I don't even remember the original question, but hopefully the answer was something related to the original question, in that there's pros and cons of network marketing and online marketing. And what we're endeavoring to do is build something where we have everything that we love and none of the things that we don't love. So
now, would you call the Home Business Academy a network marketing company, or is it not an MLM? Or, when you look at the actual business structure, how would you define that if you were describing it to somebody?
It depends on how you define network marketing. If you define network marketing as multi-level pay, then it's absolutely not. We are a single tier pay, which basically means that you earn commissions from all of your personal production, right? If you define it as if you define network marketing as relationship marketing, then we might fall into that category a little bit because we believe in relationships, right? But here's one other aspect to that. Some people are like, and by the way, I'm a champion of however people get free. Like, we believe in financial freedom. So we don't downplay anything that you might do to find your freedom. So we love if that's network.
Get where you want to go. Yeah.
Right. So if that's network marketing, great. We love it. If it's e-commerce, however you get there, the important thing is that you set that goal and you go for it. That being said, one of the things that is not my favorite about network marketing is sometimes the message is, hey, this is easy. Just get three who get three. And in 4 months, you'll be making $40,000 a month. And they're like, we got all this leverage. Yeah. And the problem with that is, if you've ever built a network marketing team, you know that it never works like that. It never duplicates out like that. Right? Yeah, on paper, it works like that. And so with affiliate marketing and one-tier direct, combined with the internet, one message that they teach a lot in network marketing that I love is take responsibility, right? Which is funny. They teach take responsibility, but then they're like, well, just get 3 and ride your way to financial freedom, which is not personal responsibility, right? But in one-tier affiliate marketing, your destiny is 100% in your control. Like you can sponsor enough and sell enough to provide a great living for your family, regardless of whether anyone else does anything. And I love that about our model.
I agree too. That was one of the other things that I found very attractive about it. Is just like, man, I can benchmark what's required in action in order to achieve my goals with this, because I know exactly how many sales it'll take. I can calculate what my monthly expenses are. and I can calculate pretty easily how many sales it'll take to bring in a very specific amount of residual income. And that's much more difficult to do with a network marketing model, where so much of what you do is dependent on what others do. So that whole theory of I'd rather earn 1% of 100 people's efforts rather than 100% of my own, I never really kind of aligned with that, just because I know what my effort is. I can control that. And if I'm not measuring up, I can do something about it. You can't do something about a whole bunch of other people's efforts, especially if you don't know them.
Right.
So, that was one of the things about the Home Business Academy too that I really liked. I always described it as being like the business model is a lot like a health club. That you pay a monthly fee, it's low cost, you get tremendous value, and you pay for it for as long as you're getting value. You can quit at any time. Yep. And it's simple. People understand that model, and so it makes it much more simple to explain and share, and so that that's what I really liked about it. I do want to ask, let's see, there's one other question I wanted to make sure we got to. And
hey, just one other thought, Lonny. You can, like, I do both. I'm actually in network marketing, and I'm a fan of it. Okay. And I do both, and they complement each other very well. Not saying you have to do that, but I just want to make sure that any network marketers who might be listening, they're not like, oh, well, they're bashing network marketing. No, I'm a fan, and I actually do network marketing too. So, So anyway, just want to throw that out.
I mean, that's a good point. There are a lot of great network marketing companies out there. And, for me, I wanted something where I could actually see the results and control. I've always been kind of a little bit more of a fan of the direct sales model for just myself.
Cool.
But, okay, so let me ask you this. Okay, so you and Mike created this, and you built it on 3 principles. It was simplicity, and what was the other one?
Quality.
Okay, that's right. We talked about that. And then the third one was putting people first.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
Can you kind of just share what was that when you guys had this meeting and you guys discussed why putting people first needed to be one of these 3 things and expressed that way?
Yeah. It's because most, if not all, of the problems we've had with prior organizations came from the leadership not doing that. So they made decisions based off of what's good for me, what's good for us, rather than what's good for everybody and what's good for the people that we want to serve. And so that was part of the reason. And then the other part is just, this belief that if we can treat other people the way that we wish to be treated, everything will be better. Like everything. Business is better. Customers stay longer. It's just all better. And this is an ancient principle. Jesus talked about it. It was talked about thousands of years before Jesus by Confucius. It's been around a long time. And we just feel like, so many of the world's problems, both in business and otherwise, can be solved by championing this principle. And when anything we do in the Home Business Academy, we really strive to live up to that. Just one example is, when we were deciding who was going to pay the merchant fees for paying the affiliates. Now we pay out a high percentage of our revenue to the affiliates because we want to do unto others. It's like, how much money do you want to make, Paul? Well, let's pay that, right? And so the company keeps a very, very small percentage. But even that being said, when it came time to decide, okay, so we pay these commissions and there's a fee to do that. Should we have the affiliates pay the fee, or should the company pay the fee? And we were like, well, what would we want someone to do to us? And it was like, well, we'd rather the company pay the fee. So we were like, okay, so now the company pays the fee. So it's just that philosophy, and knowing that people care about that philosophy and they're at least trying to live up to that. I'm never going to say we're always going to be perfect, but at least we can try, right? And so, so anyway, I love that philosophy.
Okay, good. All right. Well, then, we covered most of what I wanted to. Is there I don't know what time it was when we started. So I think I had my vision that we would talk for 20 minutes or so. I think we went way over that, but that's perfectly fine. I certainly enjoyed it and got a lot out of this. And let's see, I want to thank you for being here and sharing your story with me and sharing a little bit about the Home Business Academy. I personally am just, I think that it's a vehicle that I love so much because I just feel so good about sharing it with people. Like there's no reservations. There's no, worry about will they measure up for me. I mean, I've been with you guys for, more than 5 months, I think at this point. And, I've seen nothing but integrity. I've seen nothing but the things that you guys say the company is built on being done in all the daily mastermind meetings and all the other mastermind meetings that you guys do and all the training that's put together. It's just all top notch. So, thank you for doing that because I'll tell you what, I think a lot of people are hungry for this, and
thank you for pointing that out. It's a huge compliment to what we've all created together, and I agree. I think a lot of people are hungry for something like this. So
all right, great. Well then I'll let you go. I know you've got your whole day ahead of you. For me, it's almost 11 o'clock p.m. So if you're watching this video and we haven't mentioned it, Paul lives in Idaho. I'm actually an expat. I live in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. So, we're literally talking from two opposite ends of the globe here, showing you what technology can do and how much smaller it can make the world. So,
hey, before we let people go, I just in case someone is interested in checking out the Home Business Academy, I'm guessing you're going to have a link below the video, or how would someone get started with? And by the way, Lonny's a great leader. Like he said, he's been with us for 5 months. He's had great success. He joined and started making sales right off the bat. He's taking action. He's coachable. He's plugged in. So he's just a great guy to follow, number one. You're on his email list. I would pay attention to the emails that he sends out. And then number two, if you want to check us out and work with Lonny and myself in the academy, how would they do that?
Well, I'm a big fan of the process I like to do is say, just try us on for size, and just take it for a test run. We offer a $7 7-day trial to actually come on, be a member, and actually, check out the inside. I've got several videos on YouTube where I actually show you the inside of what the training looks like. But, what's really great is when you can be a part of some of our live events. There's a morning mastermind group. There's an evening mastermind group. They all get recorded. But if you can participate in those live, it's just really a game changer. So I usually invite people, just take the 7-day trial. And then after that, one thing I offer to everybody after they're in that little 7-day trial period is just schedule a phone call with me. Let's get on the phone for about a half an hour, talk about you, your vision, your goals, what you're up to. And let's just take a look and see if this is the right vehicle for you. That's the way I approach it.
Awesome. All
right,
thanks,
great.
Lonny. Appreciate it, man. This has been a ton of fun. I love working with you.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Take care,
bye,
Paul.
guys.
Bye-bye.
You too. We'll see you.